Ben Shapiro had asked Megyn Kelly a question, and a lot of people are kind of not really taking Kelly for her word. Here we go. Let's play that clip.
For example, Candace Owens. I think that what Candace Owens is doing right now is evil. It is evil what she is doing right now. Okay, and I say that again.
But what?
Because
like I didn't opine on whether it's evil or not, but my position is it's really none of my business. And
why is it? But I have a question. Why is it none of your business? I mean, you comment on these things for a living.
I'm not mother of the internet.
No, but if this were on the left and somebody were accusing Charlie Kirk of his wife having murdered him, I assume that you would be talking about it.
Is that what Candace is accusing Erica of?
Yes.
Of murdering her own husband?
She's accusing TPUSA insiders and other members of the right wing, including Seth Dillon, of being involved in the murder of Charlie Kirk, yes.
Okay. Like I said, I don't take in that content, which is an honest statement. I don't have time to watch Candace's show.
I believe you. But the point that I'm making is that
what I understand
friendship
Candace
should not, in our
doing.
business, I think it's important. Listen,
friendship
should not
friends.
trump.
We don't even know each other.
I understand, but even with Tucker, friendship should not trump our manifest requirement to speak out when people do and say things that are both detrimental to conservatism and morally wrong.
Okay, so I don't totally disagree, but I think the way of handling that, at least for me, is much different.
And here exactly confirms my point. This is the first time I've seen this video. But it kind of shows, right? He's throwing something at her right on the spot, and instead of her being able to answer this, like, come on, we know as an influencer, as a media personality, someone who's a journalist who watches the news, who covers all these juicy topics, etc. You're telling me that she hasn't gone out onto X or seen the last couple of weeks of commentary and what's spiked and what's been trending across the board, and that she would not have seen the fact of what Candace Owens has been saying on her show? I mean, for heaven's sake, she's number one right now in the world.
I was just
about
every clip she's placing out is pretty much going viral, and that is across all platforms. That Candace Owens is just bringing in so many views, especially with her live YouTube video in itself. I think she garners about 200,000 just within that video, people tuning in every day to listen to her.
So you're telling me that as a person of her stature, her production team, all that's involved, right, with Megyn Kelly's show,
yeah.
And that she didn't see this? I haven't seen it. I don't take in that kind of content. This is an honest statement.
I just think it's, and that's what she's getting kind of a little bit of a heat for, is just like, come on, Megyn, get real. Like, you don't know what Candace has been talking about and what Candace's concerns are. And just for the record too, personally, I have not heard Candace Owens claim Erica Kirk. So I unless anyone has a clip and they want to put it in the comment section or say, yes, Candace Owens did say that, I personally have not heard Candace Owens make a claim specifically towards Erica Kirk. It was just the team itself, and either withholding information, very concerned again with the grieving process, which everyone grieves differently, but it was just, again, really concerning. Again, I think a lot of people are having that conversation that the next day it's just back in work mode and traveling and speaking, and like nobody's really talking about the investigation. Nobody's really opening up that there are some things that are just not only off again, but that things are not adding up, and it's something to not question.
And she's saying that she believes that it is an inside job. But yeah, I have not and have yet to hear specifically where she says that it was Erica Kirk's fault. But I believe it was disingenuous for Megyn Kelly to basically say that she had never heard that, instead of being like, well, hey, I've heard the clips. I've watched it online. I haven't seen that unless I'm missing something. Do you have a clip, Ben, where you can show that specifically where Candace is saying this? And, she does make the claim, well, she's not even my friend. I don't know her. Well, then he's like, hey, but also with Tucker as well. So I think there's some valid points on both ends.
But he hit it. That's actually, Ben Shapiro hit a good point when he said, this is your job. This is what you do. You speak on topics. How do you not know? It is everywhere. Candace Owens is everywhere. Again, she hit number one. So worldwide, that's crazy. So she literally is everywhere right now. But I think with Ben Shapiro asking that question and putting her on the spot and bringing the concerns on, hey, how are you guys not concerned about what's being said here and what it's doing not only to Turning Point USA, but the impact that it could have on the conservative party, which I think there's a lot of questions right now within Donald Trump, within the government, with what happened with Turning Point USA, what's going on with our economy, what's going on with grocery costs. Let's just step back from what we can't control and let's look at what's happening within our own home. And let's look at that. A lot of people are not able to afford groceries, and again, they are spending hundreds of dollars, even more on their grocery bill than, years ago. And let's talk about the cost of living, rent, mortgage, interest rate that people were hoping and wanting to buy a home, but they're on hold still because that interest rate is just ridiculous. So it's just questions all across the board that I just think, honestly, those who vote, or those who are Republicans, those who had voted for Donald Trump are now stepping back and they're not getting either what they voted for or they just don't have no more time to be involved with this political garbage, media garbage that's on the internet.
The major issue here is the lack of unity, right? The lack of unity is what kills any movement. You don't have unity, it's going to destroy it. John Adams, second president of the United States, came out and said, hey, listen, when you have a two-party system, as soon as that was created, that was the worst mistake ever because it creates a division. And as the scripture says, right, a house divided against itself cannot stand. But going back to the heart of this whole thing and Megyn Kelly's false claim, disingenuous claim that she didn't hear this stuff or she doesn't absorb this type of content, she sat in the seat with the Charlie Kirk show just a couple of weeks ago, shortly after Charlie was assassinated, and sat there. So she's well connected to the team. She knows these individuals. She's well informed with them. And you're telling me that they would have not shared, hey, have you heard what Candace said? I mean, the whole thing all the way around, it just doesn't make sense. But I think it just comes to show that a lot of these individuals, in my opinion, and again, without attacking their character, I think their actions show that what they have done or what they do is not necessarily because they truly believe and stand behind it. It's because they found some footing. It's being profitable for them. They're having influence and reach. And because it is working in their advantage towards their bottom line, this is why they continue to go about it, but not really for the fact of what they truly believe in behind the movement itself. And this is why this is why I believe we see so much division. I believe this is why there's a lack of unity, because when it comes to the heart of it, hey, if this is going to affect me and my bottom line and my money and my influence, I'm not going to be honest. I'm going to go ahead and dodge this one right here. And as we saw that play out, I think that's so true. But people, even through the comment section of that video, are saying the same thing. They're coming out, like this one lady in here, she says, I like how these people always resort to, but we don't watch or listen to that content. First off, it's your job to listen, as Ben said. And second, if you don't listen, then why are you jumping to their defense? Shouldn't you be familiar with the content before defending it? And I think that is another valid point. But this is the overarching thing is, when it hits to the heart of this, where people have to be live and address issues in debate or in conversation that the general public can hear, I think it gives rise to the people and the public to say, hey, you have no more of a valid opinion or an informed opinion than I do. So why the heck am I going to even listen and follow you? I'm doing it for clicks and for cash. I gotcha.
You know, what woke me up a bit too was I'm like, God, here I am giving my energy and my time, which all Americans do, anyone who's tuning in and wanting to keep up with the news. And I am looking at millionaires have discussions while, again, the middle class people, here we are just thinking about, what is the next month going to look like for us? How are we going to make sure to secure our children's future financially? And, making sure that we are either getting rid of generational curses. How are we shielding them? How are we making sure that we are also spiritually being able to impact our children to grow up as loving adults too, to not only, be a great asset to their community, but to love and help those around them. So I'm sitting there across and I'm like, I don't know if y'all had that moment yet, but I'm like, this is not bringing me closer to Christ whatsoever. If anything, it drains me. It drains me so much just to sit there and continue to give myself to this hour podcast, to this hour segment on just being divided. And it's just like, oh my God, like I could have given my hour to prayer, to worship music, to something that's just going to bring in unity. Because at the end, you guys aren't really impacted. You guys aren't. because you guys have this either successful podcast, you guys have these successful books, you guys are bringing in millions of dollars, you guys have great donor sponsors backing you guys up all across the platform. And at the end, we are impacted, us middle class people at the end. And that's just, again, the middle class questions that we have. And here we are giving our energy and our time to individuals that at the end, to me, it's just, it doesn't, even down to the answers that I do want from Turning Point USA and the questions on what's going to really happen. Like, what is that going to do for me? Knowing at the end what happened to Charlie Kirk, will these people even be placed in prison? The true people, if there are real and other individuals being in place, no, they're not going to be placed in prison. There's a lot of people, even from the Epstein list, that aren't in prison.
Yeah, and it's not some socialist view either, right? It's not a socialist view to be like, well, these rich are doing it well we struggle down here on the bottom. No, that's not what it is. If I'm reading this correctly, what I see as well is the fact that you have people that are so disconnected from real life to a large degree because they're either in an echo chamber, they're in a bubble, or they're very, very high up at the top that they don't truly understand what's happening down here. And so when you're within the inner circle, right, and you're seeing all the wins, you're seeing the success, you're traveling to Mar-a-Lago, you're doing all these great things, which is phenomenal. Again, I voted for Trump. I continue to support Trump because I want to see him do well. I want this country to do well. I want all the promises that he made that we voted for him on still come to pass and come to fruition, and I believe that they will. But there's a lot of work to still be done. Now, when you are, though, in the spaces of the people hanging out at Mar-a-Lago, in the places and traveling in Air Force One to different places around the world and giving speeches and doing all these great things and hanging out with all the upper echelon within the conservative movement, hey, yeah, it's going to feel like, man, we're in the golden age. We're really living it up. We're seeing the success. America has turned around. It's real. It's legitimate. Well, the people on the bottom who are conservatives and who voted, the grassroots people who are saying, hey, I'm going to the grocery store and it's still ridiculous that I have to decide what I'm going to buy. I can't even buy 2 steaks because it's $20 a pop. I have to figure out if I'm going to buy diapers or buy this. You have to make these decisions. People are getting electricity and water bills, going so high that the services are getting cut off. There's various things like this that people on the real levels of life are seeing in foreclosure, about to get evicted, putting in resumes, can't get a job, all this stuff that's happening. And so it's like there has to be somebody to bridge the link between these two worlds to say, hey, listen, these people are still feeling these impacts. Your voters, your base, MAGA is still feeling this, and they believe in you, but they're not witnessing the same thing you guys are. So I think you need to be a little bit more in touch with reality and what's happening across the board, and don't just call it a win because the higher middle class and the rich feel it, but look downwards and say, hey, listen, who's our constituents? Who's the people who actually voted for us? Let's go to work for them and make sure that they feel impact immediately. And that's who still doesn't feel impact. And with Thanksgiving coming, with Christmas upcoming, there's a lot of people who are starting to get disgruntled 9, 10, 11 months into this administration, thinking to themselves,
especially with the suicide rates during the holidays, it becomes extremely high. You're looking at the government shutdown in itself. With the government shutdown, again, you have teachers that are not getting paid. You have people that are in the military not getting paid. And you're like, there's a real concern here. There is a real concern here. And right now, I think people are now tuning into the true issues that are going on either within their own home, their own finances, and what the future holds for us. And again, it's just, are you going to give your energy to this, or you're going to put that energy into yourself, into whatever it is that you want to start as a business, going into your own finances, setting up a proper budget, getting with your husband or your spouse, how you guys are going to get rid of debt because of, again, having to either use your credit cards during this government shutdown or relying on your credit cards to get you by because grocery costs is so high. There's so much concern going on right now in itself that I look at this, Joey, and forgive me, this stuff is just ridiculous now. It is so ridiculous.